Hello and welcome. This video is brought to you by thestreamingadvisor.com. Tailor your entertainment with streaming. With the new Superman movie coming out July 11th, I got to thinking about how many different influences on the character there have been and how many different sort of interpretations there have been. And so, I wanted to put together something for all the fans out there where we can show you where you can find as many different versions of Superman that you can find on film, on TV, as we could possibly put together. And we're going to start with Amazon, where you can find the Super Friends. If you remember the Super Friends, you're not young. The Super Friends was an intro to Superman and Batman and a lot of characters for a whole generation of people who didn't necessarily read comic books. But there have been some things left from the Super Friends that have influenced tons of different interpretations of Superman. Notably, the shape and design of the headquarters of, let's say, the Justice League. The Adventures of Superman was the 1950s show. It was basically the introduction of Superman on the small screen, starring George Reeves, not to be confused with Christopher Reeve. It ran for a number of seasons and, helped make Superman an all-American hero. Now on Hulu is where you're going to find Smallville. Smallville was the WB sort of teen drama version interpretation of Superman. Gave us Tom Welling as Superman, or Clark, because he was only Superman for the last couple of minutes of the entire show. But it did introduce some fun concepts. It gave you a feel for what it might have been like to grow up while manifesting superpowers along the way. Sort of hit when he was in his, early teens. No surprise here, Max is a big-time hub of DC content. I thought it was going to all be hanging out there after they started the whole thing, but as the studios changed, their focuses changed, and they started selling off more and more rights to different companies. But on Max, you're going to find a bevy of Superman content, including the Superman documentary about Christopher Reeve. But on here, you'll find the first 4 Christopher Reeve movies, or the only 4 Christopher Reeve movies. You find the Justice League, Superman Returns, which actually acted as a sequel to Superman 1 and 2. You've got your Snyderverse films, including the Ultimate Edition of Batman vs. Superman. Now, what I was not able to find easily was the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2. That is available out there, but it's for purchase, like $9, $5.99, depending on where you find it. But otherwise, so many of the TV versions are out there. The Lois and Clark, Superman and Lois, tons and tons of the animated movies. The Red Sun, Superman, Batman, Public Enemies. A lot of the really well-regarded animated movies starring Superman are available through Max, and that's really cool because to many people, those are more faithful interpretations of the character than what you find in the movies. Superman and Lois is one of the more recent ones. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It kind of grew out of the CW verse, the Arrowverse. Just wrapped up. I think you saw some Doomsday in there by the end. But that is a number of the Superman versions, but last but not least is the Superman cartoons from the 1930s. This was one of the big introductions to Superman to popular media. As you see, 1941, we're talking World War II era. These are the classic Fleischer Superman cartoons. And while we're looking at them here on Fawsome TV, you can actually find these all over the place. You can find collections of them on YouTube. You can find them on the Roku channel and lots of other free services. I think that these are public domain at this point. So they're worth a look because you see sort of an evolution of how Superman changed over time. He more actually leaps tall buildings in a single bound versus just the straight up flying, which was more brought on by the popularity of Captain Marvel. So, I hope you found that helpful. I'm a big comic books nerd, so I'm looking forward to the movie. Hopefully, it'll be good. If you go see it, judge it for what it is. Don't go in already ready to hate it. At least, I'm not gonna. But otherwise, as always, I'm Ryan Downey, the streaming advisor. Up, up, and away, my friends, and stream on.